Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into the compounding shift, how atomic habits create results. We're going to explore this really counterintuitive reality of how tiny, everyday habits, things you hardly even notice, can actually compound into massive life transformations. And honestly, we'll see exactly why we so often get the mechanics of success completely backward.
Okay, 37.78. I know, it kind of sounds like a random GPS coordinate or something, right? But it actually represents the staggering mathematical potential of time when it's applied to our daily behaviors. Keep this number in mind.
Because think about it, we constantly trick ourselves into believing that massive success requires massive action. Whether you're trying to lose weight, build a business, or learn a new language, we put all this intense pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvement. But what does small, consistent progress actually look like? What happens if you just stop worrying about those massive leaps and focus on getting just 1% better every single day for a year?
Well, here's the exact math. If you get just 1% better every day, you end up nearly 38 times better by the end of a single year. That's exactly where that 37.78 comes from. It's wild. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day, you decline nearly down to zero. Honestly, habits are literally the compound interest of self-improvement. The impact of changing your habits is exactly like shifting the route of an airplane by just a few degrees. A super slight change in your daily trajectory dictates an entirely different destination over the span of a lifetime.
But before we go any further, we really need to define what we're talking about here. An atomic habit isn't just a tiny change. It's a fundamental building block that fuels incredible compound growth. Just like atoms are the fundamental building blocks of molecules, these small routines are the building blocks of remarkable results. They're extremely small, yes, but they are the source of immense power.
So if the math is so incredibly clear, why is it so hard to actually stick to good habits? Well, think of an ice cube sitting in a cold room that's slowly warming up, degree by degree. 28, 29, 30, 31, and absolutely nothing happens. All of that invisible work is happening long before you ever see the breakthrough melt at 32 degrees. Habits are exactly the same way. They almost always appear to make zero difference until you cross that critical threshold.
And this is exactly why we quit early. We fall into what's called the valley of disappointment. We naturally expect linear progress, and we fail to realize that we're simply storing up latent potential. You might run for a month, see zero physical changes, and so you just stop. But to make a meaningful difference, your habits have to persist long enough to actually break through this plateau. All that early work? It isn't wasted at all. It's just being stored.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that to survive this plateau and actually see results, we've got to stop obsessing over goals and start fixing our systems. Goals are really just about the results you want to achieve, like, say, winning a championship or writing a book. Systems, on the other hand, are the continuous daily processes that actually get you there. If you truly want better results, you kind of need to forget the goal entirely and put all your focus on the system.
James Clear captures this perfectly with what is honestly an absolute mantra. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. It's such a powerful reminder that success is determined by our daily processes, not our lofty ambitions. Listen, if you're struggling to change your habits, the problem is not your desire. The problem is your system. Bad habits repeat themselves not because you don't want to change, but simply because you have the wrong system for change.
All right, let's move into our first major section. Build systems, shift identity. The most effective way to change your life actually isn't by focusing on what you want to achieve. It's about focusing squarely on the type of person you wish to become. It's the difference between wanting to read a book, which is just an outcome, and wanting to become a reader, which is an identity. Fundamentally, habits are not about having something, they are the exact avenues through which you become someone.
I absolutely love this concept because it is so incredibly empowering. Every single action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Every time you do just one push-up or read one single page, you're casting undeniable evidence for your new identity. Now sure, no single instance is going to transform your beliefs overnight, but as those votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. You don't have to change radically overnight. You literally change habit by habit, vote by vote.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, the 4 laws of behavior change.
These 4 sequential laws make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. They provide a comprehensive, step-by-step checklist to systematically build good routines and break the bad ones. If you want a good behavior to actually stick, it absolutely must pass through this framework. And inversely, if you want to break a bad habit, you just invert the laws. Make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it totally unsatisfying.
To satisfy that very first law, making it obvious, you can use something called habit stacking. This gives your new routine a built-in automatic trigger. Every habit is context-dependent and sparked by a cue, right? So instead of just kind of hoping you'll remember to do a new behavior, you take a current, reliable habit, like making your morning coffee, and explicitly tie your new habit directly to it. For example, after I pour my coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute.
It's also super crucial to remember that motivation, it's often really overrated. Designing a frictionless environment is far more powerful for keeping your habits on track. This equation from psychologist Kurt Lewin basically shows that behavior is a function of the person in their environment. If you want behaviors that are stable and predictable, you need an environment that is stable and predictable. You've got to make the cues for your good habits blatantly obvious in your physical space.
This brings us to Section 3, Master the 2-minute rule. Here's the thing, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. By forcefully scaling down your ambition to a mere 2 minutes, you create a gateway habit. This naturally leads you down a much more productive path. A new habit shouldn't feel like some giant mountain to climb. The actions that follow the first 2 minutes, sure, they might be challenging, but those first 2 minutes must be incredibly easy so you actually, cross the starting line.
Mastering those first 2 minutes completely removes the friction of starting. It proves that doing a tiny bit is always, literally always, infinitely better than doing nothing at all. Instead of reading before bed, you just read 1 page. Instead of 30 minutes of yoga, you just take out your yoga mat. Or instead of running 3 miles, you just tie your running shoes. You're establishing the routine of just showing up. You are automating the entrance ramp to your desired behavior.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. What tiny atomic action will you take right now to begin compounding your success? Because the holy grail of habit change isn't one massive shift. It's 1,000 tiny ones, just stacking up day after day. So what is your 1% change going to be today?